At first, it was the kind of cold that any ancient stone building might hold, the slow seep of age and neglect. But as we advanced, I became aware of something more insidious, something alive in the walls themselves. It was Maya who noticed first. Her voice, usually steady and measured, wavered as she whispered, "Did that door just disappear?" I turned, eyes darting back to the corridor we'd just passed through, only to find it replaced by a continuous stretch of unfamiliar hallway. The faded wallpaper peeled and curled in the dim light, but the layout was completely alien. There was no sign of the doorframe, no hint of the exit we'd just used. A slow, sinking feeling settled in my stomach. "Everyone," I said, my voice firmer than I felt, "we're trapped." Jonas immediately stepped forward, his broad shoulders squared like a shield between us and the unknown. His shaved head caught the weak glow of the lantern as he swept his gaze along the walls, flashlight in hand, every muscle taut. His protective instincts flared, but I could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes. "No way out that way," he muttered. Behind us, Lila pressed her hands to the wall, her fingers trembling against the cracked plaster. She didn't speak at first, but her pale face tightened with anxiety, eyes darting to shadows that seemed to stretch and twist beyond the natural. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "It's watching us. The house. It's alive." Maya frantically adjusted her equipment, the flickering screens illuminating the fear etched on her face. Her fingers flew over the controls, trying to find some logical explanation for the sudden shift, but the readings were erratic, fluctuating wildly. "This doesn't make any sense," she said, the scientific part of her mind wrestling with the impossible. "The electromagnetic activity is spiking, but none of this fits any known pattern." Dr. Marks, ever the skeptic, pinched the bridge of her nose, her glasses slipping slightly down. "It's psychological," she insisted, though even her voice betrayed uncertainty. "Stress and fatigue can cause disorientation." But none of us believed her. Not truly. Samir, younger and visibly shaken, clutched his baseball cap, eyes wide. "We need to mark our path, something to help us remember." I nodded, pulling out a roll of chalk from my pack. We began marking arrows and tallying signs on the corners, but even with these efforts, the manor seemed to swallow our marks. The symbols faded or were covered by new, impossible angles that hadn't been there moments before. I felt my heartbeat quicken as the walls seemed to pulse, the air thickening with a strange, metallic scent. The manor was no longer just a building. It was a living entity, reshaping itself around us, isolating us in an ever-shifting nightmare. Jonas's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts. "We stick together. No one wanders off." We moved cautiously, every step uncertain, the manor's maze-like corridors folding and twisting. I caught glimpses of my teammates' faces in the dim light, Maya's sharp eyes darting nervously over her equipment, Leela's pale, haunted countenance etched with fear, Jonas's rigid frame tense and alert. At one point, I found myself pressed against a cold wall, breath shallow. A sudden draft carried faint whispers, barely audible, like the house was breathing secrets directly into our ears. I thought I saw a door flicker into existence down a side hall, only for it to vanish when I blinked. The oppressive atmosphere thickened, and a creeping dread settled over us all. This was no longer an investigation. It was a test of survival. "Elliot," Leela's voice trembled beside me. "The house is feeding on us. Our fear, our memories. It's gaining strength." Her words echoed my own fears. We were not just trapped by walls and doors. We were ensnared by the manor's malevolent will. As night deepened outside, the manor's darkness pressed heavier. Every corridor seemed to stretch longer, every shadow deeper. Our footsteps echoed unnaturally, and the familiar rhythm of time fractured. Jonas's protective stance never wavered, but even he was not immune to the growing tension. I caught him scanning corners with a hardness I hadn't seen before, a mixture of resolve and desperation. Maya's equipment continued to malfunction unpredictably, the glowing displays casting eerie light over her anxious face. She muttered under her breath, trying to recalibrate, but the numbers made no sense, as if reality itself was fraying. We tried to communicate, to plan, but the manor's shifting architecture made coordination nearly impossible. Each attempt to retrace our steps led us deeper into the labyrinth. I scribbled in my journal, my hands shaking, trying to anchor myself to what little reality remained. But even my writing seemed to warp, letters twisting into shapes I didn't recognize. Is there any way out? I asked no one in particular, the weight of hopelessness pressing down. Jonas's grim expression was the only answer I needed. As we pressed forward, the manor seemed to close in around us, its ancient bones creaking with a sinister life. We were no longer visitors, we were prisoners, caught in a nightmare that shifted as we dared to dream of escape. And in the depths of my mind, I felt the first true crack in my resolve. The house was hungry, and it had us exactly where it wanted. But I would not let it break me. Not yet. The walls whispered secret promises and threats as we moved deeper into the maze, each step a gamble between sanity and surrender. Every shadow might be watching, every corner hiding horrors born from our own memories twisted beyond recognition. I swallowed hard and pressed on, the faint glow of my flashlight the only beacon in this living nightmare. Whatever the manor was, it was testing us, and I was determined to find a way through the darkness or die trying. But as the corridor ahead bent impossibly, folding back on itself like a serpent swallowing its tail, I realized this was only the beginning. The house was far from done with us. Lila sat cross-legged on the worn floorboards of what had once been a drawing room, her eyes half closed and her pencil scratching feverishly across the page. The flickering lantern beside her cast long shadows, making the corners of the room seem to breathe in the dim light. "It's happening again," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "I see them, the faces, the broken ones." Maya crouched nearby, her tablet recording every movement, every tremor in Lila's hand. "What do you see? Tell us." Lila's eyes snapped open, glassy and distant. Children hiding, their eyes wide with fear. A woman weeping, clutching a shattered locket. Blood staining the floorboards. Elliot approached cautiously, the familiar knot tightening in his chest. "Are they memories, or something the house is showing you?" Lila shook her head slowly. "I think both. The house feeds on pain. It reveals the past to trap us in it." Jonas shifted uneasily, his usual stoicism faltering. "This place is a nightmare come to life. We can't let it break us." Dr. Evelyn Marks, standing near the doorway, adjusted her glasses, her expression a mixture of skepticism and unease. "History is full of tragedy, but we must separate fact from fiction." But the sketches Lila produced told a story that words could not. Dark figures lurking behind cracked walls, faces twisted in silent screams, rooms drenched in sorrow. Each image a fragment of a history soaked in blood and despair. Later, Elliot found himself alone in a narrow corridor, the walls seeming to close in with every step. The cold seeped into his bones, and memories he had long buried clawed their way to the surface. His sister's laughter, the sharp crack of the accident, the hollow silence that followed. The manor seemed to echo his grief, wrapping it in shadows and whispers. He pressed a hand against the peeling wallpaper, feeling the rough texture beneath his palm. I'm not alone, he thought, even as the weight of loss threatened to consume him. The house knows, it's using me. Back in the drawing room, the team huddled around Lila's latest sketches, the flickering lantern casting ghostly light on their faces. Maya scrolled through the recordings, her brow furrowed. There's a pattern here. The tragedies, the visions, they're connected. Jonas nodded grimly. We're not just dealing with a haunted house. It's a trap, a predator that feeds on our fears. Dr. Marks sighed, the skepticism in her eyes giving way to a quiet dread. If this house truly remembers, then it's more powerful than we imagined. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the manor's hall, rattling the lantern and sending papers fluttering like frightened birds. The walls seemed to pulse, the house itself alive and watching. Jonas tightened his grip on his flashlight, scanning the shadows as distant, mournful cries echoed down the corridors. Leela's voice broke the silence. It's coming for us. Elliot swallowed hard, the fragile thread of hope fraying. Then we have to be ready. Whatever this house is, it's not done with us yet. As the night deepened, the manor's secrets unfolded slowly, each vision, each sketch, pulling the team deeper into the nightmare. The past and present collided, and the line between memory and reality blurred into a chilling dance of shadows and fear. Elliot knew the house was no mere building, it was a living nightmare, and they were trapped inside its darkest dream. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm him, a stubborn ember of resolve burned in Elliot's chest. He would fight the darkness, confront the ghosts of his past, and protect the team. Because if the house fed on memory and fear, then perhaps the strength to survive lay in remembering who they weren't, refusing to be consumed. The manor waited, patient and insidious, its walls shifting quietly when no one was watching. And somewhere inside, a silent scream echoed a call that only the brave or the broken would answer. The night was far from over. It was as if the walls themselves had conspired against us, conspiring to amplify every whispered doubt and simmering suspicion. I could feel my heart thrum unevenly beneath my ribs, a nervous drumbeat that echoed the unrest growing among us. Jonas had never been one to shy away from confrontation, but tonight, his usual guarded pragmatism gave way to a raw, volatile edge. We had been exploring one of the manor's narrower hallways when the flicker appeared in indistinct shadow that danced just beyond the reach of our flashlights. At first, it was a trick of the light, or so I wanted to believe. But the others saw it too, their breaths hitching as the darkness seemed to writhe and pulse. Suddenly, Jonas was moving fast, aggressive. "Get back," he barked, raising his fist to strike at the shifting form. The apparition twisted and recoiled, a fleeting silhouette of something human yet impossibly distorted. His blow met only empty air, but the sound of his shout ricocheted through the corridor, shattering the fragile calm. Maya's voice cut through the charged silence. "Jonas, stop. You're only feeding whatever this thing is. We need to observe, not attack." Her tone was firm, laced with frustration that I recognized well, the frustration of a scientist wrestling with phenomena that refused to fit her neat hypotheses. Dr. Evelyn Marks nodded sharply, her skepticism hardening her features. "Hayes right," she said, adjusting her glasses. "Violence will only escalate the situation. We need to remain objective. Remember, fear is the enemy here." Jonas's chest heaved, eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and helplessness. "Objective. This place is warping our minds. It's not just fear, it's real. we're under threat. His gaze swept the group, landing on each of us as if searching for an ally. But the unease was mirrored in all our faces. Lila, usually quiet and withdrawn, shivered in a shadowed corner. Her hands clutched her sketchbook tightly, the pages fluttering as if stirred by a ghostly breeze. "It's watching us," she whispered, voice trembling. "I can feel it. It's feeding on our fear, twisting it into something worse." Samir shifted nervously, tugging at the brim of his baseball cap. His eyes darted from shadow to shadow, the usual calm technician, now a bundle of fraying nerves. "Maybe we should just leave," he muttered, but the words seemed swallowed by the oppressive silence. I raised my hands, trying to steady the group, to pull us back from the brink. "We can't let this place divide us. We need to stay focused, work together. The house wants us fractured, vulnerable. We have to resist." But even as I spoke, I felt the weight of doubt pressing down, the edges of my own resolve fraying. Maya knelt beside me, her recorder still humming softly in her hands. "Elliot, look at the data. These readings EMF spikes, temperature drops, they're too precise to be random. The house is reacting to us, to our emotions. We need to keep calm, analyze what's happening." Her voice was steady, but the flicker of fear in her eyes betrayed the strain. The corridors seemed to narrow, the shadows thickening until they were almost tangible. Every creak and groan of the ancient structure echoed like a sinister whisper. I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my archer, fleeting figure, half seen and impossible to place. My breath caught, and a cold wave of paranoia washed over me. Jonas stepped forward again, fists clenched. "I don't care if it's some ghost or not. If it's threatening us, we fight back. And if you're wrong," Maya countered sharply, "you could make this worse." The argument spiraled, voices rising, accusations thinly veiled beneath fear and frustration. The fragile trust we'd maintained snapped like a thread under pressure. Leela's pale face crumpled as she retreated further into herself, her sketches now frantic scrawls of twisted shapes and dark eyes. I caught Samir's gaze, wide and haunted. "This place is breaking us," he whispered, "and I don't know if we'll make it out together." The manor seemed to pulse with malevolent glee, as if feeding on our discord. The walls shifted subtly, corridors bending and twisting beyond reason. Doors appeared where none had been, and familiar rooms vanished or receded into shadow. Every step felt heavier, every glance over a shoulder loaded with suspicion. I tried to anchor myself in logic, in the memories of who we were before this place began to unravel us. But the house was a cunning predator, weaving our fears into a web that tightened with every heartbeat. "We have to trust each other," I said quietly, voice barely carrying over the tense air, "or this place will consume us one by one." But already, the line between friend and foe was blurring, and the creeping dread had taken root deep in our hearts. The shadows lengthened, and the house waited, patient, insidious, dreaming. The corridor grew colder still as we regrouped near the heart of the manor. Jonas's outburst had left the room charged, the silence thick with unspoken fears. Maya's recorder lay on the floor between us, its red light blinking steadily as it captured the ambient noise, distant creaks, faint whispers, and the occasional sharp intake of breath. "We can't let this break us," Maya insisted, her voice low but resolute. "If we let paranoia take hold, the house wins. We need to keep our heads clear." Dr. Marks gave a curt nod, though her eyes betrayed her own shaken skepticism. "Elliot, what's your plan? How do we prevent this from spiraling further?" I swallowed hard, aware of how fragile my own will had become. We'll keep moving, keep documenting. We stay vigilant, but we have to listen to each other and to what the house is showing us. If it's feeding on our fears, then maybe understanding those fears is the key. Leela's eyes flickered up from her sketchbook. The visions are getting stronger. I think it's trying to tell us something. Then we listen, I said, trying to infuse my words with certainty, together. But as I spoke, a creeping sensation curled along my spine, the unmistakable feeling that the house was watching, waiting, ready to exploit the smallest fracture in our resolve. The night stretched on, and the manor breathed around us, a living nightmare that refused to let go. Moments later, Jonas stood by a cracked window, staring out into the moonlit grounds. His jaw was tight, muscles coiled like a spring. "I'm not letting this place get the better of me," he muttered. Maya approached cautiously. "We all want to survive, Jonas, but fighting shadows won't save us." He turned sharply, eyes flashing. "Sometimes you have to fight the darkness head on." I stepped between them, feeling the weight of their clashing wills. "We're stronger if we face this as a team. The house wants us divided. Don't give it that." Jonas hesitated, then nodded slowly, though the tension lingered like a storm cloud. The manor shifted again, a soft groan echoing through the walls as if in response. Somewhere deep inside, I felt the house's dark pulse quicken. We were trapped, not just by the physical maze, but by the venomous threads of paranoia weaving through our minds. And the worst was yet to come. In the quiet moments before dawn, I found myself alone in the library, the room's shadows deep and shifting. Leela's sketches lay scattered on the floor, each image a distorted echo of the manor's haunted past. I picked one up, a figure trapped in twisting corridors, eyes wide with terror. There was no denying it anymore. The house was alive. It was feeding on us, shaping our fears, tearing at the fragile bonds between us. And as the first pale light of morning crept through the stained glass, I wondered how long we could hold on before the manor claimed us all. The line between friend and foe had all but vanished, and the creeping dread that filled the manor's walls had begun to seep into our bones. We were prisoners of our own fears, and the house that dreamed, was the nightmare that would not end. The night was far from over. Every step echoed with a hollow resonance that wasn't just the sound of our boots on rotting floorboards. It was the manor itself, breathing, watching, waiting. I found myself drawn to a neglected corner of what once must have been the grand library. Shelves sagged under the weight of dust-caked tomes and brittle papers, their spines cracked and faded. There, half hidden beneath a collapsed shelf, I spotted a leather-bound journal, its cover cracked and stained with age. My heart pounded as I knelt, brushing the dust away with tentative fingers. Opening the journal, I recognized the handwriting immediately. Dommy Ellis, the caretaker who had abandoned the manor years ago after his own inexplicable experiences. Flickering the candle closer, I traced the scrawled entries, the words jagged and desperate. Tommy's accounts spoke of shifting walls, voices in the dark, and shadows that moved of their own volition. He wrote of a malevolent force that fed on memory and fear, trapping victims in an endless labyrinth of their own minds. The parallels to our own ordeal were unmistakable, and a cold shiver crawled down my spine. I called the team to me. Maya, ever skeptical but visibly shaken, adjusted her recorder and scrolled through her readings. The electromagnetic anomalies she had captured earlier grew stronger by the hour. Yet no logical explanation could account for the manor's behavior. Jonas, his usual stoic guard slipping, scanned the corridors with growing suspicion, muscles taut and ready. Leela sat nearby, her sketchbook clutched tightly, her eyes distant, as if seeing beyond the veil of reality into the manor's dark soul. The manor seemed to respond to our discovery. As I read aloud passages from Tommy's journal, the walls around us groaned and shifted subtly. The floor beneath our feet creaked, and the shadows lengthened unnaturally. Maya's recorder crackled, and a faint whisper threaded through the static, indistinct but chilling. Samir, usually the quietest of us, swallowed hard, his youthful face pale. I caught the tremor in his hands as he adjusted the equipment. We pressed on, navigating the twisting corridors that now felt less like a house and more like a sentient trap. The manor played tricks on our senses. Familiar doorways vanished, replaced by impossible angles and looping hallways that led us back to where we began. Our memories felt unreliable, fragmented by the house's influence. I struggled to hold onto my own sense of self, but even my journal, the one thing I trusted, showed signs of tampering. Words I was certain I had written were now altered, sometimes erased entirely. Lila's condition worsened. Her mediumship, once a source of insight, became a conduit for the manor's torment. She spoke of ghostly figures from the manor's past, their faces twisted with agony and rage. Her sketches grew frantic, filled with disjointed images of suffering and despair that seemed to bleed off the pages. One evening, as she sat cross-legged in a dim corner, her breath came in shallow gasps and her eyes fluttered behind closed lids. I feared for her sanity. Jonas remained our bulwark, though even he could not mask the cracks forming beneath his tough exterior. There were moments when he would freeze, staring into the shadows as if expecting a phantom to emerge. His hands clenched and unclenched, his protective instincts battling the creeping hopelessness that the manor instilled. Maya attempted to anchor us with her technology, but the manor mocked her efforts. Devices flickered and died, recordings distorted beyond recognition. Yet, amidst the static, occasional fragments of whispers and cries emerged, echoes of lives long extinguished but never truly gone. Maya's skepticism wavered, replaced by a cautious acceptance that we were entangled in something far beyond scientific explanation. Each night, as the manor's grip tightened, our dreams bled into waking hours. Time lost meaning, minutes stretched and contracted, memories folded upon themselves. The house fed on our fear and trauma, growing stronger with each fragment it devoured. I felt my own past clawing its way to the surface. Visions of my sister's death mingled with the manor's shadows, indistinguishable and relentless. In a fleeting moment of lucidity, I realized that the manor was a mirror, reflecting our deepest fears and regrets back at us, warped and magnified. The journals of Tommy Ellis were not just records, they were warnings. Warnings we had yet to fully comprehend. As I closed the worn pages, the whispering grew louder, surrounding us in a suffocating embrace. The echoes in the dark were no longer distant, they were here, among us, and the house was listening. "We have to keep moving," I urged, voice barely above a whisper. But the dread weighed heavy, and I knew the hardest trials were still ahead. The manor was no longer just a place. It was a living nightmare, and we were its prey.